Hi everyone, I'm doing live today with Brittany Miller. I hope you all had a good Christmas, but I'm excited to talk to her. And let's invite her on. And we're going to be talking about mental health, okay? And I don't know if you're about this high in all the messes with Christmas, but Christmas messes have been next level for me at least. And so, way that she sheds like some humor on mental health that yeah, we feel this way, but it's okay that we do. And so let's welcome her on. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Let's talk a little bit about you. And for those of your people that are watching, I'm Laura Cragen, and I'm also a mental health coach. And I'm helping mothers find and women find a strong sense of self. But for you, I love how you're doing it in a humorous way and funny. But welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks. I know, I just have to find humor, otherwise I cry a lot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I gotta laugh about it, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna happen either way. You might as well just have some funny in the whole thing. So tell everyone what you do and why you started doing this and where you're at.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Brittany Miller. I am a mom of three. I have three kids. They're ages 6, 3, and 2 right now. They'll be 6, 4, and 2 soon. But I yeah, I'm a mom of three kids, and I always wanted to be a mom. Every time I would play with my friends, I would always play house. Always wanted to be a mom.
Yes.
But motherhood has not been what I expected, and so I'm just trying to find the joy and the humor of it all, especially during these little years where I'm really struggling mentally. I also, within the last 7 or so years, I have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and also my with anxiety usually comes depression, and so that has cropped up within the last 7 years. And so I'm just learning how to manage the symptoms that come with that, as well as being a mother and just like good or like human being, and trying to find joy and fulfillment in my own life. So I mostly took that to social media because it's just it's a great place to be open. And I made some funny videos. They went viral, and so now then I kind of from there discovered that I probably should be talking about mental health more than I am and what I've been going through. So that's me. And currently where I'm at is just trying to recover from Christmas and moving. We moved a week ago, and so the stress is evident in the acne that's present on my face, just like kind of stuff like that. That's where I'm at right now. But as far as like my own mental health, I'm in kind of I usually say like you're in a surviving stage or a thriving stage. And about 2022 was a little bit of both, but I feel like I have been more in a thriving stage than surviving stage for the last year or so, which has been great. But just learning how to manage motherhood and stress. So that's me.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize that. I think I did remember you saying that recently, that you moved and then now it's here and it's within this week of Christmas. That is insane.
Yeah. And
holy cow.
Yeah.
You're going through a lot right now.
And I feel like my motto in life is just kind of, I look back at my life and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I did that. Like I had my first child while I was in college. I had her in the middle of a semester and took a week off and then went back to school. And at the time it was just what I was doing, it was just like, I'm just doing this right now. But looking back, I'm like, how did that even work? How did that even happen? But that's just kind of my life is. So yeah, I don't know how we moved and tried to do Christmas, and we had our friends over and stuff like that, but I don't know how we did it, but we just kind of did whatever we felt like doing at the time.
Right.
So
you just do what feels good. And I think that's good that you're realizing like, oh, I'm a pretty strong cookie. Like I'm pretty tough. And I the same thing for me too. I put my husband through paramedic school. He's a firefighter paramedic. And that year I was pregnant. I was working full time. I was going to school part time. And I earned my empathy with what it feels like to be that full time breadwinner, and also building that family and having to be first time pregnant, and how scary that is. And it's a hard year, but I'm like, if I could do that, I could do anything. And it's totally and I can see you're doing it. You could do anything. I think if you're gonna move during Christmas and 3 kids that age, my kids are 9, 6, and 4, so
Yeah.
it's kind of similar. They're really busy. Yours are probably still in diapers. I just barely got out of diapers last year or earlier this year. So, man, you're awesome. I'm impressed. I am impressed.
Well, and wow, I just have to keep telling myself that I'm like, I'll be in this next phase soon enough. Like, right. I'm like, can everybody just learn how to brush their teeth by themselves yet?
Yeah.
Just like stop doing everything for everybody. And I feel like the more I try to help my kids be independent, the less independent they get. I don't know. I'm like my 6-year-old. I'm like, why are you so needy? I'm like, please leave me alone. But no, I will be there soon enough eventually.
Right. Yeah, I would feel like that at times too. But I've been seeing, like this morning, I just told them all, okay, we are cleaning up. This house is gonna get somewhat clean. It is just next level dirty, and they kind of hopped to it because they were used to my routine of like, we do it, and then they're being a little bit more independent. I'm like, oh, I'm reaping those benefits right now. Of all those years that I've really tried to, it's kind of happening. There were tears, there were tantrums, and she had to go take a nap because she was obviously just not ready. So, and staying up late till 10:30 at a party last night. But it's just, it finally gets to that point where they're going to be independent and hopefully give you a more of a break. So tell me, what was more of that story of your anxiety and depression? That's what I do as well, and I have my whole story, and I might talk about it a little bit. But tell me about your story on that side of it. That's harder to talk about.
It is, yeah, and it's hard because sometimes I don't know really where to start, because in hindsight I can see that I have had some childhood trauma. Like my parents don't have the greatest relationship sometimes. Someone's crying. Hopefully you're alive. I might have to intervene a little bit, but but everyone has some childhood trauma, whether it's minor or major. But I looking back, I can see anxiety present in my teenage years. But my anxieties were about small things. So small anxieties, small coping mechanisms. You don't have to do much to cope. But the first time I remember having extreme anxiety was I was a newly married girl, and I had this like overwhelming feeling that my husband was going to die that day. And I am a religious person, so I kind of was like, oh my gosh, is this like God trying to prepare me for this death of my husband that's imminent today? And it was one of those things where I just couldn't shake it all day. And I ended up telling my husband, and I was just in tears. I was just like, you're gonna die today. I just know it. Well, he didn't die. I was like, that was super weird. And then the next time was I was about 7 months postpartum with my oldest, and I had some minor anxieties towards the beginning of her life. Like I couldn't sleep with her in the same room. Like her noises would keep me awake and frazzled. So she slept in a different room from like almost the night she came home from the hospital, because I was so like worked up over
your sleep
noises. Yeah, and I needed sleep. My pregnancy wasn't that great. It was really physically exhausting. I was sick all the time. And come here, sister. So that took a toll on me mentally and physically. And then, I was about 7 months postpartum with my daughter, and I had a weird like mental breakdown almost. I got really worked up over something that shouldn't have been worked up over, and I got really angry and started yelling at somebody who I loved and who I was close to, and I felt like in that moment where I was just full of this like rage, and I was just like I was like steam was coming out of my ears. I was just like, ah! But I felt like half my brain was freaking out, and the other half was going, there's nothing wrong. Like you're safe, you're okay, or whatever. Like, why are you freaking out? But then that and spiral of anxiety turned into, you know, depression, and I'm a horrible person, and why did I act like that, and all this stuff. And that was the first time I decided to go see a therapist. So we talked with my husband, and I said, I think I need help. I need to go talk to somebody. Spoke with a therapist, worked out some childhood traumas, and then shortly thereafter, a few months after, I got on my first antidepressant. Hold on, mommy's on her phone talking right now. You can watch a show in a minute. The other thing with moving is we don't have internet still, and because it's been Christmas, they can't come till tomorrow. So I'm just like, I need Cocomelon to babysit. I'm so worn out. But anyway, so my phone has been
you're totally fine.
Anyway, so that's kind of my story of how it all started. But you know, ever since then, it's been this roller coaster. And if you're familiar with mental health or just starting on this roller coaster, you realize it really is a roller coaster of ups and downs and loop-de-loops. And it's hard because sometimes as you're just figuring out, you don't know when it's going to come and why and what triggers it. And so, but ever since then, you know, with the birth of my second and third children, it's just been kind of this discovering more about mental health in general, which thankfully there's lots more resources now.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of how it all got started. But I have been on medication ever since. My oldest was about 9 or 10 months old is when I first got on medication. I've been on medication ever since she's 6, so about 5 years.
Right. Oh, it's such a blessing. I am an advocate for it in that sense, but for some people, maybe not. They don't.
Yeah.
But everyone going into just knowing that you have to take responsibility for it, and that may look like the combination of the therapy, the medication, taking it easy. But yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, it sounds like you were very dysregulated, and I've been there too, where we swing to the one side of the anxiety where we ramp up, or we swing to the other side of depression where we are down. We cannot function. So that's because your body just can't handle it anymore. You had those traumas. You had a lot of stressors. And it's really hard to do it all on our own without that therapy and without medication, without having some sort of support around you. So it seems like you had some good people that loved you and wanted to help you out. And that's really good. You have those babies that you're helping, and along the way they need a healthy mom. So good on you to get that help.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have a mother-in-law who works in mental health, and so she has been a great support, you know, not only just as a family member, but even as a, you know, support of being medicated and all that stuff. And then my husband has been eager to learn. You know, he's not always perfect at everything that he does or the way he reacts to how I react, but he's learning, and we're learning together. So
that's good. That's good that you mentioned him too, that he's still learning and he's still being patient, because mine is similar. Like, he's more he's a firefighter, like I was saying. So he has more of this physical focus, and that's just what he is like. And so it was harder for him to see, like, oh, you're really hurt, and there's actually something wrong here. And so a little bit about my story is similar. I started medication after I had my first, about a year after I had my first. It was more later onset. Mine has always been more later onset. And I had a lot of the childhood traumas I needed to deal with too. I was the oldest of 6, and my parents were always like divorced parents. They got divorced about 6 years ago, but I always felt like a divorced kid. And there was a lot of hostility, and it was really hard. And so in 2020, I had my big mental health crisis, and I went to a psych ward, and I was starting to have suicidal thoughts before the pandemic started, actually in January of 2020. And my husband works a lot, and that also contributed to it. And I'm by myself for long periods of time, taking care of them. I don't have family nearby. And then I went to the psych ward in the summer, and I realized I'd been taking the same medication for so long, and it wasn't helping anymore. And my body was ready to up level and deal with all those things. I think everyone was trying to deal with all the things in 2020. And my husband and I didn't have a good relationship at that time because we were so enmeshed and codependent, because we didn't have family nearby. So we did everything together, or you just don't do anything with anyone else sort of mentality. And that wasn't going to help me heal. I need an army of people, and he does too. And then I still wasn't getting better. So that whole year I didn't work. I just was in survival mode. And in October, I still wasn't better, and I was not going to get better. I was always in bed, really trying to do my best to get out of bed. And having the suicidal thoughts were not safe. And I'd finally checked myself into a rehab for a month away from my family. And that was really hard. And I finally got more tools, and got help and intensive therapy, and I was finally getting better. And I mean, that's just one part of the story. I also realized after that I had eating disorders, but I had to get out of survival mode. But that's kind of where my story has been. And I used to be an intuitive eating coach too, because I really wanted to help people after I got better with eating disorders. But now I'm really getting more back to my roots of where it all really began, of what I got help with, and that was the mental health, and really getting that help down to that core of realizing I could fill that hole, and that hole in my heart with Christ, and with validating myself, and not having others validate me, and not looking for other outsourced sources that do that, like being busy and productive and the good opinion of others. And with eating disorders, the way I felt like I needed to look or be. But it's a huge journey, and you can't help but want everyone to finally find a better way. And so I like finding people like you that understand that, and you do it in such a down-to-earth way, and that's why I like it, because it's so fun to hear what you do. But
yeah, I listened to your podcast episodes on your I don't want to say the peak of your depression, but the low of your depression, the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
And it was good and inspiring and relieving to hear that, someone else has felt and thought similar things as me, because it helps me feel less broken. You know what I mean? Because that's that first initial thought that you think of as, oh, I'm just broken, and fix me and all that stuff. So it's so nice to know that I'm not alone.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today. We'll let you go, and I try to keep these to a small amount of time. But thank you for coming on. It's just relaxed, easy, and for all those listening, glad you came on today. But where can more people hear about you? And
well, this is my real life. I'm like, my husband is gone, and he doesn't want to help me today. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm like, this is mainly I'm very hit and miss on social media, and that's just because I'm dealing with everyday life, which I probably should show more of, because then people can be like, all right, it's it's real life, and
you're moving.
Social media is like a highlight reel of people's lives. But when I'm on here, you can find my page at the.brittany.miller. And I usually try to share things that are relatable to motherhood, or things that I'm going through as far as mental health, and answer questions like you, and dispel myths of things that happen with mental health and motherhood specifically. So but yeah, I've shared some of my thoughts also on a podcast that me and my best friend have called the Mama Retreat. So you can also head over there and look at those. Right. But yeah,
you do have that retreat. That's right.
Yes. But yeah, Laura is a good resource, and she knows her stuff. So
thank you. I think that people want to see the real, and so I think I don't always show a lot of the real. I try in my stories I do, but you're showing that even in your reels, and I'm trying to also have some education. So between the two of us, we're just trying to help in any way, and people need it. So people that are watching too, you can go to my Instagram page. I'm at Laura Cragen across all platforms. I have been focusing a little bit more on YouTube lately. I'm by no means trying to be a big YouTuber, but I just know I can be able to talk about things a little bit deeper on there. And so, yeah, and I have a free friendship guide. I also, what I'm really trying to get people towards is getting them out of that survival so they can thrive. Yeah. And thriving is connection.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to figure out both of those sides for people. And I have this adult friendship guide that's helping women knowing how to not make it awkward and to still make friends. Yeah. And it's just the 5W questions, you know, who, what, where, when, why of how to make friends. So it's not awkward.
That's awesome. And, you know, really within the last year and a half, as I've started to come out of this survival mode, it really has, looking back, I'm like, wow, I've added genuine friendships to my life and cut off those who are not healthy for me. So
good. And you started the retreat thing. That's totally what you're doing. You're wanting to make that connection.
Because we have to make connections, especially if you're a mother who stays at home or mother of littles, because it is so isolating. It feels so alone, especially the first couple of years when you're getting up at night with, you know, and you're just like, oh, I'm the only one up. But
you're a zombie.
I know. Yeah. So anyway, thank you though.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you for listening, everyone. And we will talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.